Shabbat Shalom. I just wanted to offer a brief message as we enter into Shabbos. At the beginning of the parsha, Moshe begins to explain to the people the Torah. The Torah says, "Ho'il Moshe be'er et ha-Torah." Moshe begins to explain the Torah, and then what immediately follows is not a recapitulation of all the laws, but rather the story of the time in the Midbar. And it's so curious because when we say the word Torah, we usually refer to the laws, to the halachot. And eventually, as we know in Sefer Devarim, we'll get to that place. We'll get to the reiteration of so many mitzvot and new mitzvot that the Jewish people must consider and take into account as they enter into the land of Israel. But first it begins with Be'er HaTorah, the explanation of the Torah, and it's actually just a story. And I think there's something so simple yet powerful here, that when it comes to the Torah that we learn, the Torah that we teach, when it comes to reflecting on the laws that God has given us and what they mean for us, what really we have to start with is our story. What is the story that got us to this moment? What are the trials and tribulations, the suffering and the successes that helped get us here and now? And so what Moshe is saying to the people says, I want to study the law. I want you to understand what God wants from us. But in order to do that, we first have to set the context. We first have to understand what happened. We first have to understand how we got to this point in order to figure out where we want to go. Sometimes we think that, all right, we just have to look forward. We don't have to look to the past. But Moshe Rabbeinu says, we need to know how we got here in order so we can decide and lay claim to what comes in the future. And I think that's such a powerful message for Sefer Devarim. And I think it's such a powerful message for Tisha B'Av, which is coming up next week. It's this deep recognition that if we want to understand where we're going, we first have to understand where we came from. We have to understand what it was for the Jewish people to have the temple, what it meant for them to lose the temple, and where they go from there. And I think this is such an important idea for us to hold on to as we enter into this Shabbat. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom.